Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today. You're a pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the debacle that seems to be taking on a life of its own now, which is the fallout from the disaster that was the Snow-White remake. Now, Rachel Zegler's got a lot of stick for her contribution to this, which is a substantial contribution to the disaster it was. But I think we need to go a little bit further back. She's a young, silly, radicalized girl who's got no understanding of the world. She's just got the radicalized view of the world as awash with Nazis, and she's leading the resistance to fight back against Hitler. And she's got that simplistic, silly college kid sort of view of the world, and has got a big enough name and a platform to be able to put it out and have people notice it and comment on it and so on. So now let's just consider this, that Disney considers doing a remake of Snow White. Now, Snow White was a huge success back in the 1930s from a variety of, it's a story that's been around for hundreds of years, or whatever, hundreds, but a long time, 100 years. It's from sort of Central Europe. It's something that every kid had knew about from school and from the sort of books and things that they read, the stories, the bedtime stories, all this sort of thing. So it had already some quite good brand recognition, and Disney, in what was technologically quite a step forward at the time, was able to present this story in a movie, staying very true to the original story, and to do it in color itself, a big step forward back in the day, and to do it in that cartoon format. So it was all in all pretty impressive stuff from a technological and presentation point of view, and of course it did very well, and is credited with being an absolute huge milestone in the development of Disney and electronic visual entertainment and so on. So now, with such a success to springboard off, and again quite a well-recognized brand, you'd think, well, if Disney's going to do a remake where they could use modern day technology and create the cartoons in 3D, and do all sorts of things from a technological perspective, you'd say it would be, given the brand, given how well the brand, the movie, and so on is thought of, it would be almost impossible to fuck it up. I mean, if you went and said, well, can you try and fuck it up? They couldn't have done a worse job, and they did. So they sat down and decided, okay, we're going to do a remake of Snow White. Let's fuck it up as much as we possibly can. Now, if we get criticism, we'll just say that we're just trying to make it for modern audiences, and anyone that criticizes us is Hitler. So that's how we're going to play this one. Now, the entire sort of development and creative team and so on, if they weren't named Steinberg or Cohen, they were radicalized leftists from the gay lesbian community and so on. Or race hustler grifters. So they looked at Disney, they looked at Snow White rather, not as a retelling of a favorite movie and a classic tale. No. This is an opportunity to deliver propaganda. This is a messaging delivery system we're looking at here. Movie entertainment, you got to be kidding, get fucked. This is a messaging delivery system, and let's just make sure everyone knows that it is. Well, and if you got a problem with that, you fucking damn Nazi. So this was the direction. So all right, well, Snow White, we can't have a white chick playing Snow White. Those damn white fucking fascist Nazis. We got to show them that the times have changed, the game has changed. So what we got to do is pick a brown chick. Yeah, what, box tick, and she's got to be a girl boss. Oh, box tick 2. And she's got to hate white society. Oh, fuck me, I'm getting a hard on here. Box tick 3. And she's got to put out some real radical message. We'll write it for a radical message. Anyone who doesn't like it is Hitler. Box tick, box tick, box tick. We are kicking ass. Now, well, don't stop there. Hey, we're on a roll. The dwarves have to be black and gay and lesbian. Blah, blah, blah. Now we've got to do that, and they don't all have to be dwarfs. They can just be people from minority groups. Oh, keep the box ticking going, guys. We're on a serious roll now. And so, in the end, you could have called the movie anything. That it was Snow-White was really a deception. It was duplicity on a grand scale. It was no longer Snow-White at this point, or the tale. It was just propaganda. And you can't tell me they didn't know that. And the selection of Rachel Zegler was, is she brown? Yep. Girl boss? Yep. Radicalized into social justice leftist thing? Yep. Hates white people? Yep. Will act as a propaganda mouthpiece, spewing propaganda against white people? Yep. But perfect. She is so we're going to promote her as a poster child. We're going to put her in lots of movies. She is the perfect young boss chick propaganda delivery system that we want. We get hard-ons over all this sort of stuff. So that was the sort of the wider, I would argue, the wider plan and the wider architecture. Now, she's not the worst actress in the world. I mean, look, from what I've seen in I haven't watched the whole movie, by the way, but from what I've seen in the bits of the movie, she's okay. I don't know. B- or something. I mean, she's not top of the range, doesn't stand out, and but I mean, given she's had over 10 years of acting and singing lessons, I would have expected a bit more. But anyway, she's not terrible. I've seen worse. Not completely wooden or anything like that. As a singer, she's okay as a singer. She's better than me anyway. She's okay as a singer. Is she A grade or something? No. Would I sort of rate her at the top of the pile or anywhere near it? Nope. So she's more carried away with her own sort of theatrical presence as she rather than her singing ability. I would think, just looking at how she delivers the numbers. Some of the songs in it, by the way, I don't think were very good. But nonetheless, she's not a terrible singer. So she's got an okay singing voice. So as an addition, like as a sort of mid-level, lower-level supporting actor, she'd be fine as a lead role. That I would dispute. I don't think she's got the lead role type thing. But that doesn't matter. She's brown. She's a boss chick, and she's into social justice issues, social justice warrior issues. All white people are Nazis. The 1937 version of Snow-White was a production of Nazis. Hitler personally produced it, and we've got to do something more enlightened today. Now, she's on board with all that nonsense. Now, she's not a high IQ chick, so she would easily succumb to nonsense like that, but which is again why they selected her. She's the perfect created, manufactured, tell her what she has to believe and think, and indoctrinate her and just let her loose. So that was the game. Now it started to sort of go south, and the idea of casting the brown chick in Snow-White wasn't a good idea. It was a fucking dumb idea, and it was destructive to the brand and the franchise and all that sort of stuff. But hey, we're delivering messaging, enlightened messaging, positive messaging. So we don't give a fuck about the original brand. And this was, I think very much the circular thinking they engaged in. But they had this, they created this boss chick, which is very much how the globalists work, by the way. They identify young activists, particularly boss chick type activists, and then they sort of bring them on and over promote them and give them a platform because they're used for propaganda delivery, not because of their talent or capability. And the globalists, if anything, are very good at planting and creating and manufacturing propaganda delivery talking heads. And Zegler, in my view, is just one of them. Now, the Disney's shown that they're prepared to take losses, movie losses, quite happy to take them on the basis that they've delivered the propaganda. They think delivering the propaganda is the accomplishment, not the entertainment. And as much as you may think, well, that's hard, they're getting a lot of handouts from USAID and accelerated tax write-offs, and they're getting all sorts of things to cover their losses so they can continue to deliver the propaganda. But this one didn't quite work. I think they went after the wrong brand and franchise and movie. The tradition, the idea of the brown chick as Snow-White went down like a lead balloon. The fiasco with the dwarfs, the woke messaging that they were desperate and falling over themselves to insert. I think it all combined. Then they decided, well, hold on a minute, we got to pull back. They didn't expect a Trump election victory. They didn't expect the other, knock-on type fallouts from that election victory. That there'd only be two genders and so on. So woke went from being, peak virtue signaling at the time the Snow-White thing was conceived to being a bit on the nose. It stinks sort of to a large extent in many quarters now that Disney couldn't have foreseen, a few years ago. So suddenly Zegler became really an unwanted sort of thing. Well, what do we do with her? Now, they'd originally given her activist lines to, it's 1937, it's out of date, and the prince is stalking her, and, fascist Nazis, and we're going to rewrite it so it's got the woke messaging and the social virtue justice messaging. So that was the lines they gave her. Remember, they created it, they built it, they gave this B-grade, non-event actress a place that she never could have won on straight out merit. But again, that wasn't why they selected her. So the brown girl boss with social justice warrior attitude is what they wanted, and that's what they were going to unleash on the world. And so, but it became a liability. Suddenly, Disney realized, this is actually not panning out as we hoped. Now, whether or not, because remember, they gave her all those activist lines to talk about in the beginning. I don't believe that was her. It was just something that was too polished and too sort of coordinated about it. So I would say the activist studio execs gave her those lines about, the princess stalking Snow-White and that sort of stuff. Which gives away Zegler's radicalized sort of upbringing. She comes out with that crap. She's carried away with her fame and the adulation that initially, at least, she figured she was getting. But now it's out of, there was the drama in Palestine, and there are other events that really consumed the wider meta-narrative that Disney was wanting to push, and even some of the details. So Zegler became a liability. Now, at this point, I don't know what happened. Did she insist on continuing to make her activist utterances online, on X and so on, or was the studio still putting her up to it? Did they lose control of her? What exactly happened at this point? I can't believe that a studio of that size couldn't say, "Listen, Rachel, do not make any social media posts unless our publicity department writes it for you." Okay, nothing, you got it. If you want to keep your job, and okay, you got that. Okay, your contract depends. Did she think, I don't care, I'm a superstar, I don't need to do what you tell me? This sort of thing, I don't know. Did her own hubris consume? Again, she's a young girl, and not very bright. So did her own hubris consume her, or was there something else at play there? It could be they lost control of her. It could be they tried to recover the situation. Disney, recover the situation by really doubling down on the propaganda. What a feisty chick fighting back against those Nazis, that type of thing. But whatever happened, whether it's mismanagement by the Disney or the publicity department, expectations that were far out of line with any sort of reality, or Zegler got out of control and just told the Disney publicity people to fuck off, and she was going to do her own thing. I don't know. It could be a combination of all of those. The idea of her going online and crying that all the Nazis won't like the movie. That's got to be the publicity department putting her up to that. It's just too consistent with their other messaging. So it's a bit difficult to tell now. The rumor around town now is that she's now become a complete liability to Disney, and an unmarketable product that they once thought was going to be the ultimate poster child girl boss, and that seems to now be the possibility of the maybe litigation to do with either Zegler doesn't get, maybe the contract will just be torn up, or doesn't get the starring kick-ass movie role she thought she was going to get, or whatever. I don't know, but that looks like that's going all south as well. So, but Disney needs to take, in my view, a responsibility. They created her, they manufactured her, and they pushed her at us, and they used her deliberately to destroy a well-loved white franchise. And now they're trying to cast her aside because it doesn't suit them anymore. I've got a problem with that. You've been fantastic today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, she's now a fucking bald person.